Hey everybody, I'm Bob Lucido and we're back in the Bearcat Training Camp where we are offering in-depth business building training for teen Beachbody coaches. All right, what we're going to talk about today is one of our vital behaviors, personal development. This is a key factor to growing huge success, and unfortunately, I think it's one of the ones that sort of gets swept under the rug with 10 minutes of a good audio per day or reading 10 pages of a good book a day. Those are great steps, and I'm not saying not to do those. In fact, those will be part of what you need to do, but you need to think way beyond that. You need to really understand what your goal is here in this vital behavior. Because it's very easy to just sit down and sort of turn your brain off and read 10 pages of a good book or listen to 10 minutes of a good audio every day without doing anything more, okay? Personal growth is about growth. It's about developing yourself. And that's gonna take some effort. That's gonna take some focus, and that's gonna take a plan. All right, that's what I wanna talk to you about today, to try to help you get together your thoughts and your plans on how you're going to attack this vital behavior in a way that's going to get you real results and some substantial movement so that you can continue to grow in a way that's going to grow your business, okay? So the first thing that you need to understand about personal development is we're really talking about two prongs, okay? One of them is skill development. And you really have to make sure that you're understanding that we want to get to two areas in our personal development, skill development being one of them, and personal growth, inner growth, communication skills, leadership abilities, communication skills, therapy. I mean, heck, getting into you as a person, you as an individual, growing as a human being, which is going to help you to be able to grow in your ability to connect, build relationships, sustain relationships, and ultimately build your business. All right, so with everything that I'm going to be sharing with you today, I want you to be thinking about it in those two areas. Skill development, which might include, how to do Facebook ads, how to succeed on Instagram, how to do Snapchat, or how to do business presentations, how to run a successful fit club, how to run successful shake and shares, digging in and learning and researching network marketing, multi-level marketing, the industry that we're in. Those are all sort of skill development things. Speaking skills, writing skills, sharing skills, social media skills. That's going to be one area that you're going to want to make sure that you're focusing on. And then the other is your personal inner growth, your emotional growth, your spiritual growth, your psychological growth, growing as a human being, communication, leadership, relationship building, taking a look at and really getting real with what your daily habits look like, good and bad, and learning how to sort of clean house, and make sure that you're replacing negative habits with positive habits, and how to do that. And how to break through the things that are happening in your life that have to do with what's happening up here subconsciously. All right, that's one side of personal growth. And I highly recommend that you make sure that your personal growth plan, and when you get done with me here today, hopefully you will understand what a personal growth plan is, and you'll have one. In your personal growth plan, you want room for both sides of that personal development. And so that's why I say it's more than 10 pages of a good book a day. It might be, 10 pages of a couple of good books per day. It might be 10, 15 minutes a day or a half an hour a day on some skill development, and then 15, 20, 30 minutes a day on some of your inner growth. But both need to be going. And maybe it's every other day. That's fine too. We all have different schedules, and we all have different time allotments. We all have different time zones that we can set aside for growing our business. And those of us who have a little bit more time, then maybe we'll be doing both every day. Those of us who are still really fresh, part-time, trying to make sure that we can fit all of these things in the limited amount of time that we have, then maybe you're doing these things every other day. But you're understanding that you need to do both. Okay, that's number one. Here we go. The first thing is personal development, personal growth has to be intentional. It's not just going to happen because you're reading a book. It's not just going to happen because you're working with a mentor or going to seminars or watching training videos like this. It's not going to happen unless you get intentional. And that's why I say you have to have a plan. And your plan starts with, what am I intending to grow right now? Okay, so if you have to grow something in your skill set that's applicable to this business, and if you have to grow something in your own inner growth, we're doing both, what are the first two that you're going to work on? Don't just kind of, do this willy-nilly. Have a plan. What's the skill set that you're going to educate yourself on and improve yourself on? And what's the area of inner growth that you're going to start with? Okay, some of the sort of books that are on everybody's list in this industry, The Slight Edge and Go Pro and anything Jim Rohn and John Maxwell, those things are all great, but you have to understand that one of the reasons why they're on everybody's sort of first top 10 list is that they kind of hit both sides. They talk about some of the skills that we need in this industry, and they talk about some of the concepts and philosophies and mindset that we need to succeed in this business. But you got to take it to the next step, and you got to really personalize it. Personal development is personal development because it's personal. So what is a skill set that you need right now that lines up with your goals and your business? You're trying to build this on social media, or you're trying to build this in person? What is it that you're doing with this business? And pick a skill set that you want to develop and that you can dive into. And then also pick a mindset, a philosophy, or an emotional growth area that you personally can get something out of to grow forward and move forward in this business, understanding that this is a relationship forming business. So something in communication, something in building relationships, leadership, developing good habits, time management, any of those things are possibilities, but make it personal, okay? So be intentional about this and understand that it's going to take some effort. And that's really what I'm saying when I say it's more than just reading 10 pages of a good book each day. You got to read the 10 pages, you have to take it in, and then you have to take action on what was shared in that little bit of reading that you just did. Take action on the content. And that's where the growth comes in. Because growth comes in through your effort. It doesn't just happen automatically. It's going to be driven and it's going to come through your effort. And placing your effort will be dependent upon how you are individually reacting or interacting with what it is that you are studying. Okay, so do the action. I like to say, instead of just read a good book, do a good book. Okay, read it, take it in, take action on what's being shared with you. Make sure that you're coming out of that experience changing a little bit. Personal growth is about changing. Okay, let me share a good quote with you. It's from a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And he says, people are anxious to improve their circumstances, right? That's all of us, but reluctant to improve themselves. And therefore they are bound. We don't want to be bound and stuck where we are, right? We're trying to grow a business. We're trying to reach a dream, a why that we all talked about and set out in the beginning of our journey together. So we want change. And remember the last video that we shared talked a lot about change, going after and actually chasing change. You got to bring that to your personal development plan, your personal growth plan. Okay, it's not about how fast you go. Okay, and again, one of the reasons why I'm against this process of diving in and let's read a new book every 2 days, or 500 books in a year, or whatever that kind of thought pattern is. Just be careful that you're not flying through everything so fast with the goal simply being to get through this stuff. Because if that's what you're doing, you're not growing, and all of that good stuff that you're taking time to read, you're not allowing the time and space for it to actually have some impact on you. Now, it's not to say you won't get anything, because you will, right? I mean, you are reading the stuff, it is going through your mind, and it's touching you in some way, but it's touching you at the most superficial, low impact level that you could get to, okay? When we want it to be at the highest impact level that it could be. And so for that, you gotta take your time. Go slow with it. Growth happens slowly, and the process of growth happens slowly. It's that slow and steady wins the race. It's the slight edge philosophy, if you're into that one. And this is crucial, to growth in general, but definitely and most importantly with personal development, because as human beings, that's just how we work. We grow and we change slowly, habits change slowly, mindset changes slowly, the philosophies and strategies that we're able to comprehend, grasp, and implement are going to flow slowly and change and grow slowly. Okay, so take that into account when you're setting up your personal growth plan, which I want you to do right after this video. First thing is to pick the 2 areas that you're going to grow on, then pick the areas, pick the implements that you're going to use to get there. What's the book that you're going to use? What's the online course that you're going to go sign up for? What's the series of YouTube videos that you're going to watch to learn how to do Facebook ads, or whatever it is that your thing is that you're picking? I mean, let's face it, there's a wealth of opportunity out there for free even to dive in and build skill set, and to dive in and do serious work on interpersonal growth. So pick your 2, be intentional about it, start to draw out your path. What are the vehicles that you're going to use in those 2 areas, and get intentional about it. Okay, that's number 1. You gotta be intentional. And number 2 is building and growing your self-image. The power of your own self-image cannot be underestimated. You've got to see value in yourself to be able to add value to yourself. And this is one of those sort of unconscious, subconscious, kind of back of the mind kind of things. You will always limit yourself based on what it is that you're saying to yourself in the back of your own head. You will always limit yourself based upon your own self-image and your own self-worth. So part of your plan has to be growing self-image. Okay, that's one of the reasons why one of our other vital behaviors, by the way, is be proof that the products work. That process of maintaining your own health and fitness, of inching along in your own progress in those areas, is also helping to fan the flames of your own self-image. So understand that the ceiling of your growth is going to be controlled by your own self-image. And there are some ways that you can expand that. Your ceiling grows every single time you help someone else. Again, one of the beautiful things about this business that we're in is that we have the opportunity to get out there and help others and get the side effect of raising our own ceiling of our own self-image at the same time by the very process of doing what we do as coaches, helping others. Okay, so get out there, give yourself away. Give yourself away. One of the things that I see people do, especially in this business, is sort of holding on to things that they think are the, whatever, the secret formula or the secret thing, or, buy something from me and then I'll help you kind of attitude. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. That works against you on so many levels, but on the level that we're talking about today, it limits your self-image. It has the negative impact of lowering your ceiling. Whereas if you can give freely, helping others, you will see that that's going to push up, raise the ceiling of your own self-image, which allows you further growth. It makes room for you to be able to continue growing. It's a magical thing. For those of you who were at the men's training event in Dallas a couple of months ago or whenever it was, we had Gary Vee as one of our keynote speakers, and he talked about this, not quite in these terms, but he talked about giving yourself away, giving your knowledge, and he talked about his own intentionality in giving everything and knowing that you're not losing by giving away all of the value that you have continually. And in fact, all you're doing is churning this mechanism that's rising your own image of self-worth, your own ability to continue to grow and continue to bring in new and more valuable things to continue giving. And you aren't losing anything, because the truth is, there's only going to be a small percentage of the people out there who are actually going to receive what it is that you're giving away, who are actually going to be able to, or that actually will do something with all of that. Give it all away. Give your help and assistance away to anyone that you have the ability to be in contact with and to give that assistance to. Magical things will happen to you, okay? And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. Again, this slow and gradual process of opening and growing, okay? So now that you've got your plan, you're moving forward with intentionality, I'm asking you to move forward with the philosophy and the mindset that you're going to just keep sharing, keep sharing, keep sharing, keep sharing. If just to stick with our first couple of examples, if one of the skill sets that you're trying to grow is how to do more effective Facebook advertising through your like page, then get excited about what you're learning and share it. Share it with your teammates, share it with whoever else out there might be trying to learn the same stuff in this sort of cooperative mode, and you'll see the juices will flow in a better way, and you'll see that your own growth will go in a better way. It's that sort of that philosophy of if you keep emptying your cup, then you get to also keep filling your cup. But if you fill your cup and you keep it full and you're not letting it go anywhere, then you also don't have any room for any more to come in, okay? So think about that and make sure that you're bringing that to the process. Give as you are receiving, as you're growing. Just understanding that that's one of the mechanisms that's going to push growth forward. You have to have that flow, okay? Self-awareness. Number 3, you have to be self-aware. You have to be 100% honest with who you are and where you're at right now. Okay? And this is, you're in a room all by yourself, you in the mirror, nobody's listening, nobody's watching. You have to have a level of truth and honesty with yourself. Where are you at? Where do you need growth? Where do you feel pain? Where are you feeling good about things? What fears do you have? What excitement do you have? What's your own self-evaluation of your skill sets, and especially the ones that are directly applicable to this business, since we're talking about building this business. Where are you in your personal inner growth in development? What's your comfort level in interacting with people, with individual levels, small groups, large groups? What's your comfort level in your ability to attract, create, build, maintain, sustain relationship? How are your communication skills, your leadership skills, all of those things? And of course, that's not the limit of it. That's not the end. Think out of the box. What are the areas that you're moving forward on? And you got to be serious, and you got to own it. You got to be honest with yourself. And folks, I'm a proponent of getting some personal therapy along the way as well. There's a very important component to unlocking your own understanding of where you're at with all of these things. And sometimes a little help can help you get to that understanding. So consider that in all of this process as well. There's some real value with that as well. In working in work groups. I love to see coaches get together in personal development work groups. We talked about that in some of the earlier videos, and I'm mentioning it here again because, again, I think it's super important. When 3, 4, 5 people get together and decide to build a similar or the same skill set using the same vehicle, the same book, the same study group, the same lecture series, the same video series, whatever it is that you're using as that vehicle, doing it together, talking about it, discussing it, and formulating action items out of it, then holding each other accountable to moving forward with it. I mean, that's one super, super powerful way to get out of the just reading 10 pages and letting it all bounce off and never sticking, right? The idea is we want it to stick so that it can help us to growth, so it can help us to move forward, okay? And again, I talked about this in the other video, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but here's a good concept in here. In this self-awareness that you're building and being honest with who you are and what your skills are, also ask yourself, what are your positives? Like, what are your best skills? What's your bailiwick here? Where's your roundhouse in this business? And understand what that is. So, it's not all about get in front of the mirror and beat yourself up about all your weaknesses. No, that's not what this is. Part of it is looking in the mirror and finding out what are your strengths? What are you good at? What do you love? Where are your passions? All of those things. Because, and here's a really key strategy, those are the areas that you want to focus on. Throw this old adage out the window of work on your weaknesses kind of thing, okay? If you want to build great success, you got to find out where your talent is, where your passion is, where your strengths are, and go all in there, okay? If you're big in social media and you are comfortable in the social media world and all of that, then go for that. If you have skills in videography, if you have skills in group presentation, if you have skills in leading fitness groups, or whatever it might be, what are your strengths? Go with your strengths. I mentioned John Maxwell earlier. He's got some great stuff out there, by the way, for some potential avenues and vehicles for you to use. But one of the things that he talks about in this area is the fact that we're all born with sort of inherent strengths and weaknesses. And through growth, we have the ability to improve upon either strengths or weaknesses a certain amount, and whatever that might be, to improve 20 or 30 or 40% or whatever on what it is. But the point here is that if you put all of that effort into your weaknesses and you're only able to raise them up this certain amount, then you're only going to bring a weakness up to mediocrity maybe. Whereas if you can hone in on your strengths and pile this improvement on top of somewhere where you're already up in a higher level, then you can create true excellence. All right? And so you look at anyone who has reached great success at anything, sports players or musicians or business builders or whatever it might be, it's because of taking a particular strength, taking a particular passion, and running with it and building it. And that's what you want to do. Gary Vee talked about this too in the men's event in Dallas. And I think I mentioned this in last week's video, but again, it's worth mentioning here again. Find out where your strengths are, line yourself up with your strengths and your passion, and go all in that area. That's how you develop your branding. That's how you find your niche. That's how, all of those things come together. People talk about personal branding. People talk about finding your niche market. People talk about those kinds of things. Well, the way that you get yourself there, the way that you find out where those things are and line yourself up with them so that you can have amazing success, is by honing in and finding where your strengths are and then building upon those areas. Now, that's not to say ignore your weaknesses. No, especially if you have some weaknesses that happen to be so weak that they're draining off of your ability to grow your strengths, okay? And you can all hopefully see what I mean by that. You could have some bad negative habits. You could have some weaknesses in these areas, either skill sets or personal inner growth, that could be so weak that they're actually draining your ability to grow your strengths. Okay, you got to watch out for those. Let's make sure we don't have any holes in the bucket, right? And so in those areas, what we want to be able to do is at least make sure that our weaknesses aren't in some level where they're actually detracting from us, okay? But we want to be careful about saying, I can't hop up and down and run a 5K on just my left leg, holding my right leg in my hand, right? That's not something you might want to spend too much time building a strength in, right? So, all right, I think you got that. I'm not going to go on with that anymore. Self-awareness. You got to know who you are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and work your strengths. And seek out a good mentor. Seek out a good teacher. Seek out a good partner. I talked about this a few minutes ago, but it's important to put an underline underneath it, because one of the things that holds people back the most with personal growth is the lack of interaction with other human beings. The cool thing about personal growth and personal development is once you start doing it with some other people, it just opens the floodgates. It really, really does. And back to the therapy thing, the personal therapy thing. One of the reasons why people have such success in that arena is simply through the opportunity to be sharing with another human being, getting insights from another brain, getting some help in making sure that your sort of angles and your imprints aren't the only filters that are helping you to understand this material or helping you to deal with these elements that you're working with, okay? So get a partner and hopefully get a mentor, get a teacher, get a good mentor and a good teacher that's going to not just talk abstract with you, but to really get real and concrete. Let me share another quote with you, and this one is directly from John Maxwell, and I love this. He said, a motivational speaker, a good speaker, makes you feel good, but the next day you don't know why. Whereas a good teacher makes you feel good, gives you that same pump, but the next day you know exactly why, and more importantly, you know exactly what to do with all that energy. Okay? So when you're seeking out your success partners, when you're seeking out your teachers and mentors, make sure that you're taking a look at what's being shared. Make sure that you're connecting in a way that you have something to take away that's going to move you forward, okay? And that goes with the readings that you choose, the audios that you choose, the lectures you decide to go to, the video series, the training series, all those things that we've been talking about that are available to you. Just be careful that you also don't get addicted to the rah-rah. We can go to motivational tape after motivational tape after motivational book after motivational lecture and series and so on and so far and stay on that rah-rah high. Ask yourself the next day, do I have anything to do with that rah-rah? Do I have anything to do with that high that I felt? If yes, then fantastic. Then that was a teaching, and that's worth your time and your effort, okay? And a lot of that has to do with yourself too, by the way. That's not saying anything about any particular speakers or writers, or a lot of times that can be what you bring to the table. Are you digesting? Are you finding the places where you can plug this stuff into action items? Are you finding the places where you can plug it into yourself and your own personal needs, turning around your own habits and disciplines instead of just reading it, getting excited, getting hyped up, but not actually changing, not actually moving forward? All right, it's a big difference. We can do a lot of reading, but if it's just pleasure reading, maybe not worth your time and effort. Make sure that your personal development is work. Make sure that you're following your plan with a goal, with vehicles that you've chosen to get you to that goal, and with identifiable skills and attributes that you are actively and intentionally trying to build, okay? And the next, of course, is consistency, and we've talked about this over and over again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Again, I think it's almost at this point beating a dead horse. All of this comes only through consistency. It's the old adage, and maybe you've heard this from other people. It's I've heard it a million different times, but it makes such good sense, and it's so powerful when you really think about it. If there was a big tree in the backyard and we wanted to take that tree down, if I sent you out into the backyard with an axe and I said, go hit the tree 5 times, do you think the tree is going to come down? It's not, right? But if you take that same axe and you hit that same tree 5 times every day, day after day after day, then eventually the tree will come down. And over time, you will be able to see the impact of that axe hitting 5 times every day, right? You'll start to get that wedge in the tree, you start to see it breaking apart, and then eventually the tree goes down. That's the way your personal development is going to work as well. And I've said this many times in this group, and I'll say it again. One of the things that I love about this industry and this business is that it mirrors the very processes and products that we're sharing with people. Health and fitness doesn't happen overnight. If you buy P90X from me today and you do the workout today, you're not going to see very much change. Maybe after a week you might start to feel a little bit of change. In fact, the first week you'll probably be feeling sore, right? That's the change you're going to feel. But if you keep doing it day after day and week after week, then the changes come in. And that's the same thing with nutrition, it's the same thing with fitness. And guess what, folks? It's the same thing with your personal development. And that's why we say the minimum of 10 pages a day or 10 minutes of a good audio a day. The concept there is daily. Way back to our daily disciplines that we talked about in the first or second video in this series. It's got to be daily, it's got to be consistent, it's got to be intentional, and it's got to be following a plan, okay? I hope you're seeing how all that fits together. Then the final thing that I want to share with you today is creating an atmosphere for growth. Creating an atmosphere for growth. Listen, growth happens only in a conducive environment, okay? I don't know what time of year it is that's going to be when you might be watching this video, but right now it's springtime here. It's June, end of June. Actually, it's June 20th here. It's the first day of summer. So people are starting their gardens and planting those little plants that they're going to take care of all summer, hoping to have beautiful vegetables come harvest time. And that will happen so long as a conducive environment is provided for those little plants, right? They need to be watered. They need the right amount of sunlight, not too much, not too little. They're needing the right amount of nutrients. They might need to be cultivated. They might need to be aerated. Every plant, right, has their own little conducive environment that they need to thrive and to grow. Well, so do you as a human being. And some of those things happen to be negative mind thought that you want to get away from, both your own and others. Stay away from people who are naysayers. Stay out of conversations where people are going to detract from what it is that you are trying to do, right? Get yourself into situations where you're going to be supported. And some of that might be a success group, it might be success partners, it might be, getting on your team page, it might be interacting in a group like this. Seek out places where you're going to be supported, okay? And if you have naysayers around you in your daily life, either in your job setting or your home setting or your neighborhood or wherever it might be, try to get yourself away from those areas. Spend less time in those areas. Don't share openly in those areas and situations if you have a knowing that you're going to get whacked back. Keep yourself in conducive environments. Again, something that I'm sure you've heard before, and probably most all of this that I'm sharing you've heard before. I'm just kind of reminding you of some of it. But that whole adage that we are the sum total of the 3 to 5 people that we spend the most time with. That's such an important thing to think about, people. Who are the 3 to 5 people that you spend the most time with? What do their lives look like? What are you getting out of those interactions? Are you getting support, or is it negative? Is it static, or is it a growth environment? Is it a growth-focused environment with each of these individuals and each of these places that you're spending most of your time in? Think about those things, okay? Make some changes if you have to. Also, make sure that you're putting yourself in situations that are challenging you and that are pushing you forward. Okay, again, back to the sports analogy. Athletes always play up to the competition, to the level of the competition. The best teams play best when they play against the best teams. The best athletes play the best when they play against the best athletes. That's sometimes why you see, a number one team getting upset by, some little team that they shouldn't even have been in the game with them. Well, what happens is this number one team lowers themselves down, the enthusiasm's lower, the expectations are lower, all these factors come in, and you get a lower level of performance. Same thing's going to happen with you. Make sure that you're not the top dog in all the groups that you're in. Make sure that you're interacting in groups, your study groups, your success partner groups, your whatever groups that you're in, and hopefully you are in at least one or a few where you're either working on personal development, you're working on skill development, you're working on business growth, whatever it is that you're working on. Make sure that you're choosing to place yourselves or to participate in groups where you're not the best. Make sure that you're in situations and opportunities where you're going to be forced to step up a level, where you're going to be forced to play a little bit beyond your comfort zone and a little bit above where you normally do. The trainings that you choose, the lectures that you decide to go to, the workshops you decide to go to, the groups that you choose to participate in, make sure that you're considering that. There's something cool that goes on with your ego about being the top dog in all the groups all the time, but it's not helping you. And it's not going to push you forward. It's not going to support your growth, okay? You also have to make sure that you're connecting in places that you're excited about, that you can have fun, excuse me, and that resonate with your passion. So if you're looking for study groups, you're looking for training opportunities, you're looking for workshops to go to or lecture series or whatever it is, find things that resonate with your personality. Find places and groups where you can have fun, be excited, get plugged in, be passionate. If personal development is drudgery and if it's just the thing that you hate to do and I'm going to go to this workshop next Saturday but I really don't want to, and yeah, I'll be over at 4 and I can't wait to get out of there. I really hate this speaker. He's just a monotone voice and I hate listening to him. Don't go there, okay? Because I don't care what the information is that's being shared, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it in a way excuse me, that's going to bring in the positive impact that you're looking for. And that's the same thing for YouTube trainings or video trainings or any of the things that you can get outside of going and being in some kind of training situation in person. Find the places, find the people, find the presenters that you find enjoyable, that you find inspiring, that you find exciting, where you can bring all of those things into play. Because those are the intangibles that are going to drive the philosophies and strategies and information and knowledge into a place that's going to get you the deep growth that will allow you to skyrocket forward, okay? So make sure that you are choosing the environment that's going to be most conducive to your growth, and take a look at your daily life, at your daily interactions, and see if you can weed out certain situations that may be negative, that may be drawing you backwards, that may be keeping you from doing the very growth that you are trying to do. See if you can get around some new people. See if you can get around some new situations. And that's for all of us. You might have the most beautiful, amazing, conducive environment around you. Cool. Go look and see if you can find some other cool, conducive places that will stretch you a little bit further. Who are some other people that you could be working with that could help draw you further? Okay? With the key principle here being, and this will be our final thought, folks, that growth has to be planned. Growth has to follow an intentional line in order to get you anywhere. You have to have a plan, you have to have a focus, and then you have to follow that plan, implement that plan, and take the actions to drive growth. Action drives growth. And that's the final thought for you. Action drives growth. Personal development is one of the 4 vital behaviors for a reason, folks. It's crucial to your success. Develop your personal development plan and get active. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.